Welcome to a chapter a day. Right now, in this very moment, time is collapsing around you. The past no longer controls you. The future is no longer distant. Everything is happening now. There are infinite versions of you already living the life you desire. Infinite parallel realities where you are confident, abundant, fulfilled, and free. And the truth is simple, powerful, and undeniable. You do not attract a new reality. You step into it. This audiobook is not about becoming someone else. It is about remembering who you already are. It is about shifting your perception so completely that reality has no choice but to rearrange itself around you. You don't chase success. You don't force change. You don't wait for permission. You collapse time. You jump realities. You decide. Every thought you think, every emotion you sustain, every story you repeat is selecting a version of reality. And once you understand this, once you feel this, once you live this, there is no going back. Over the next few hours, your awareness will expand. Your attachments will loosen. Your joy will become your compass. And creation will feel effortless, natural, inevitable. Listen deeply. Let repetition rewire you. Let certainty replace doubt. Because the moment you truly understand this, your life will never be the same. Chapter 1: Infinite Parallel Selves Exist Now. You are not becoming someone new. You are remembering what already exists. Right now, in this exact moment, you are a multidimensional being with infinite selves. Not metaphorically. Not spiritually in some distant sense. Literally. There are versions of you living radically different lives, right now. Different confidence levels. Different bank accounts. Different relationships. Different bodies. Different emotional baselines. And none of them are in the future. They exist now. The only reason you experience one reality instead of another is because of where your awareness is focused. That's it. That's the mechanism. As you expand your perceptual awareness, more timelines instantaneously become available to you because you are no longer stuck in linear reality. Linear reality is a belief, a training, a habit of perception, and most people never question it. They think life is something that happens to them. They think change requires time, effort, struggle, or permission. They think they have to fix something before they're allowed to experience something better. That is why people are living and feeling like they are prisoners within their own game. Because they're feeling trapped in a certain narrative, trapped in a certain identity, when it's really just a choice of focus, a choice of self, a choice of which parallel version of you gets to drive the experience. Whenever we focus on something, we activate it. That is law, not philosophy. Law. If you focus on lack, you activate the version of you who experiences lack. If you focus on ease, you activate the version of you who lives in ease. If you focus on struggle, you activate the version of you who believes life must be hard. You are not manifesting objects. You are selecting identities. And identities come with preloaded realities. This is why people suddenly change their lives without external reasons. You've seen this before. Someone leaves a job, and within months they're thriving. Someone exits a relationship, and suddenly they're magnetic. Someone decides they're done playing small, and everything rearranges. From the outside, it looks random. From the inside, it was inevitable. They stopped trying to change circumstances. They changed who they were being. They stopped hoping. They started selecting. I am selecting, not hoping. I am choosing, not waiting. This is how a quantum being thinks. You have to remember how to think as a quantum being. A quantum being does not ask, how long will this take? A quantum being asks, which version of me am I activating right now? Because time collapses when identity shifts. The moment you decide that you are the version of you who already has clarity, confusion dissolves. The moment you decide that you are the version of you who is already valued, external validation becomes irrelevant. The moment you decide that you are the version of you who is already abundant, money stops being emotional. Nothing is chased. Nothing is forced. Nothing is convinced. Reality adjusts. This is why you will start to feel these versions of yourself channeling through you. It can feel subtle at first, like a quiet confidence, a calm certainty, a sense of, I don't know why, but I'm not worried anymore. That is not imagination. That is alignment. All of your beingness is just a collective of many consciousnesses expressed through your physical avatar. And whichever one you tune into becomes your lived experience. Think about relationships. You've noticed this before. You feel like a completely different person with different people. With one person, you're open, relaxed, expressive. With another, you're guarded, small, quiet. You didn't change. You activated a different version of you. And here's the part most people miss. You are also activating versions of them. In relationships, romantic or platonic, you activate certain things within the other person based on your own frequency. This is why someone treats you differently than they treat someone else. This is why dynamics shift when you shift. Whatever you believe about you, you are giving permission for other people to also believe about you. That's not motivational. That's mechanical. If you believe you are hard to love, you activate people who mirror that belief. If you believe you are respected, you activate people who treat you with respect. If you believe you are chosen, you activate experiences where you are chosen. This applies everywhere, including money. I'll give you a real example. In a client session around money and pricing, the client believed people couldn't afford her services. That belief felt logical to her. It felt responsible. It felt realistic. But it was just a frequency. As she held that belief, she was activating the parallel versions of people who would say no. Not because the price was wrong, but because the identity was. When she shifted into the version of herself who was confident charging that price, something interesting happened. She didn't need to convince anyone. She didn't need to explain. She didn't need to justify. She activated the parallel versions of people who said yes. Same offer, different identity, different reality. Whenever we focus on something, we activate it. This is also why the ego is obsessed with worst-case scenarios. The ego has been trained to jump to the worst possible outcome. It thinks it's protecting you. But all it's doing is selecting a timeline you don't actually want. When you assume the worst, you activate the worst. When you step back and disengage, you neutralize it. When you stop caring, that is the highest form of manifestation. I've lived this personally. There was a period where I said, very genuinely, I just do not care. Not from apathy, from detachment. And that was the moment a really, really big manifestation entered my life. Because there was no resistance left to manage. No identity gripping the outcome. Detachment collapses time. Joy accelerates it. The frequency of joy in itself will help you quantum shift at an accelerated rate. Joy is not something you earn after life improves. Joy is how life improves. This is why two people can wake up on completely different earths. One person wakes up already annoyed, already assuming traffic, already expecting problems. They activate that earth. Traffic happens. Someone is rude. Something goes wrong. Another person wakes up neutral, open, present. They activate a different earth, different interactions, different timing, different flow, same planet, different timelines. If you wake up and think, my reality is shitty, nothing's changing, you activate that dominant point of attraction. Reality then has to agree with you, because it always does. This is law. Even exhaustion can be part of the shift. There are times when you may feel really, really exhausted, to the point where you can't do anything. That doesn't mean you're failing. Sometimes the body is recalibrating, upgrading, integrating. I've gone through phases where my body felt like it was undergoing massive activation, DNA upgrades, crystalline shifts. The mind wants to label it as wrong, but the quantum perspective recognizes it as transition. This is why discipline matters. And when I say discipline, I don't mean force. I mean identity discipline. It's about discipline. The discipline to return to the version of you that already knows. The discipline to stop rehearsing old stories. The discipline to notice when you're slipping into an identity that no longer serves you. Because you are always selecting. I am selecting, not hoping. I am choosing, not waiting. And once you truly understand this, you stop asking, when will it happen? Because you realize it already has. You are not here to fix yourself. You are here to select yourself. You've now seen the truth. Infinite parallel selves exist now. And the only question left is, which one are you willing to embody? You've recognized the selves. You've felt the shift. Now it's time to understand how your perception locks you into one reality or frees you into another. You've met the selves. Now let's talk about the mechanism. Chapter 2, Time is not linear, it is selective. Time is not moving forward. You are moving through selections. The idea that the future is somewhere ahead of you is one of the most powerful illusions ever accepted. It feels natural. It feels logical. It feels unquestionable. And yet, it is completely optional. The future is not ahead of you. It is available now through alignment. Every possible outcome already exists. Every conversation, every opportunity, every version of success, peace, love, and expansion already exists. Not later. Now, what you call time is simply the order in which your consciousness experiences realities. And that order is not fixed. It is chosen. As you expand your perceptual awareness, more timelines instantaneously become available to you because you are no longer stuck in linear reality. Linear time only exists when consciousness is contracted, when awareness is narrow, when identity is rigid. This is why people feel like life takes so long. They're not waiting on circumstances. They're waiting on themselves. They believe growth must be gradual. They believe healing must be slow. They believe success must be earned over time. But time does not reward effort. Time responds to coherence. The moment you decide, time reorganizes. This is not poetry. This is physics expressed through consciousness. Think about memory. The past only exists as a mental replay. It has no physical presence. It only feels real when you return your attention to it. Every time you remember something emotionally, you reactivate that timeline. You pull it into the present. You give it energy. That's why people feel like they're stuck in the past. They're not trapped by events. They're rehearsing identities. The same is true for anticipation. Most people are living mentally in futures they don't want. They anticipate problems. They anticipate rejection. They anticipate disappointment. And whenever we focus on something, we activate it. The ego believes anticipation is preparation. In reality, it's selection. This is why the ego mind is trained to fixate on worst-case scenarios. It scans for danger because it believes survival depends on it. But survival thinking collapses possibility. When you constantly anticipate what could go wrong, you are selecting timelines where something does go wrong. Not because you deserve it, because you're aligned with it. Presence dissolves this mechanism. When presence is mastered, memory loosens its grip. Anticipation loses its urgency. Time collapses into now. And now is where all power exists. A quantum being does not argue with the past. A quantum being does not negotiate with the future. A quantum being occupies the present so fully that alternative timelines become accessible. You have to remember how to think as a quantum being. A quantum being understands that attention is currency. Where attention goes, reality follows. This is why people can experience radical life changes seemingly overnight. They didn't wait long enough. They stopped referencing time altogether. They stopped saying, one day. They stopped saying, eventually. They stopped saying, It takes years. They said, now. I've seen this repeatedly. A user once commented that they went to sleep saying, I already have the job offer. Not affirming, not begging, stating. The next day, they received a new job offer for remote positions. From a linear perspective, that looks like luck. From a quantum perspective, it was alignment. They selected the timeline where the offer already existed. They aligned with the identity that assumed it was done. Time reorganized around that decision. The moment I decide, time reorganizes. This phrase is not something you repeat to convince yourself. It's something you notice after the fact. Decision is not force. Decision is clarity. When clarity is present, delay disappears. This is also why you may notice that when you stop caring, things move faster. Not because apathy is powerful, but because neutrality removes resistance. When you stop caring, that is the highest form of manifestation. Care often implies tension, expectation, attachment. Detachment frees time. This applies to money, to relationships, to health, to creativity. Source never sees your business or your job as not good enough. Source sees expansion only. New ideas, new channels, new expressions. The idea that something is stagnant comes from the mind, not source. When you align with source's perspective, time stops being an obstacle. Growth becomes natural. Opportunities feel inevitable. This is also why exhaustion can show up during major shifts. There are moments when the body needs to recalibrate to a new timeline. You might feel heavy, slower, offline. This does not mean nothing is happening. It often means everything is happening. The nervous system is adjusting to a different pace of reality. The body is syncing with a new identity. Linear thinking panics during these moments. Quantum thinking allows them. It's about discipline, not the discipline to push. The discipline to trust the recalibration. It's about discipline. The discipline to stop checking the clock. The discipline to stop measuring progress in days or months. The discipline to stay present even when the mind demands proof. Because proof only comes after alignment. People often say, nothing's changing. But what they mean is, I keep checking the old timeline. If you keep scanning reality to see if it's different yet, you're anchoring yourself to what was. Presence doesn't check. Presence assumes. Whatever you believe about you, you are giving permission for other people to also believe about you. The same is true for time. If you believe change takes time, reality will honor that belief. If you believe transformation is immediate, reality will also honor that. This is why embodiment matters more than visualization. You don't imagine a future. You occupy a now. You walk like your future self. You speak like your future self. You decide like your future self. Someone once said they started walking like they were already their rich, stress-free self, moving with ease, presence, and confidence. They didn't wait for money to arrive. They aligned first. That alignment selects time. Time is not a line. It is a menu. And every moment, you are choosing what you order. The moment I decide, time reorganizes. You don't need to understand how. You need to notice when. Notice when you stop rushing. Notice when urgency fades. Notice when things arrive without effort. That is time responding to coherence. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not catching up. You are selecting. And now that you understand that time is selective, not linear, the next realization becomes unavoidable. If time responds to perception, then perception must be the true switch. You've loosened your grip on the clock. Now it's time to look at the lens. You've stepped out of linear time. Now let's shift the way you see. Chapter 3. Perception is the only reality switch. Nothing changes until perception changes. And once perception changes, everything follows. Reality does not respond to effort. It responds to perception. This is where most people exhaust themselves. They try harder. They push more. They force outcomes. and then they wonder why nothing shifts. Effort is mechanical. Perception is causal. You can work endlessly from the wrong perception and stay in the same reality. Or you can shift perception once and watch reality reorganize without strain. As I see it, so it becomes. This is not a mindset trick. It is how reality functions. Perception is the filter through which all information passes. It determines what you notice, what you interpret, and what you allow. And whatever passes through consistently becomes your experience. Two people can stand in the same room, hear the same words, face the same conditions, and walk away with completely different realities. Not because reality changed, because perception did. One person sees opportunity. Another sees threat. One person sees feedback. Another sees rejection. One person sees a pause. Another sees failure. Same event. Different worlds. This is why effort alone never works. If you believe life is hard, every task feels heavy. If you believe money is stressful, every expense feels threatening. If you believe relationships require sacrifice, connection feels draining. You are not responding to reality. You are responding to your interpretation of reality. Whenever we focus on something, we activate it. If your perception is tuned to problems, you activate problems. If your perception is tuned to solutions, you activate solutions. If your perception is tuned to limitation, you activate limitation. This is why people feel trapped. They believe they are stuck in circumstances. But what they're actually stuck in is a lens. This is why people are living and feeling like they are prisoners within their own game. Because they're feeling trapped in a certain narrative, trapped in a certain identity, when it's really just a choice to see differently. Perception is not passive. It is creative. The moment you change how you see yourself, reality receives new instructions. If you see yourself as overlooked, you activate experiences that overlook you. If you see yourself as valuable, you activate experiences that reflect value. Whatever you believe about you, you are giving permission for other people to also believe about you. This is why confidence is not about personality. It's about perception. Confidence is simply seeing yourself as someone who belongs. And reality agrees. Think about money. Two people can earn the same amount and live in completely different financial realities. One feels constant pressure. The other feels supported. The difference is not income. It's perception. One sees money as scarce. The other sees it as circulating. One sees spending as loss. The other sees it as flow. Same numbers. Different realities. As I see it, so it becomes. This also explains why relationships feel different with different people. With one person, you feel expansive. With another, you feel small. It's not just chemistry. It's frequency. In relationships, romantic or platonic, you activate certain things within the other person based on your own frequency. Your perception of yourself sets the tone. If you see yourself as safe to be around, people relax. If you see yourself as a burden, people feel heavy. You are not managing others. You are signaling reality. This is also why people experience sudden shifts without external changes. They didn't get permission. They didn't wait for evidence. They changed how they saw themselves. And everything recalibrated. As you expand your perceptual awareness, more timelines instantaneously become available to you because you are no longer stuck in linear reality. Linear reality is perception narrowed to one interpretation. Quantum reality opens when perception widens. You have to remember how to think as a quantum being. A quantum being understands that perception selects timelines. You are a multidimensional being with infinite selves. Each self sees the world differently. Each perception accesses a different version of reality. When you shift perception, you shift selves. And when you shift selves, reality follows. This is why presence is so powerful. Presence dissolves distortion. When you are present, you are not projecting past experiences onto now. You are not anticipating future problems. You are seeing clearly. Clear perception collapses resistance. This is also why joy is transformative. The frequency of joy in itself will help you quantum shift at an accelerated rate. Joy widens perception. It softens judgment. It opens possibility. Struggle narrows perception. It tightens focus. It reinforces limitation. This is why forcing change rarely works. It's perception fighting itself. Neutrality is often more powerful than positivity. When you stop caring, that is the highest form of manifestation. Not because you gave up, but because you stopped distorting perception with attachment. You allowed reality to respond cleanly. This is discipline, not discipline of action, discipline of perception. It's about discipline. The discipline to notice when your lens has narrowed. The discipline to question the story you're telling yourself. The discipline to choose a wider view. Because perception is always optional. Even exhaustion can look different through perception. You can see it as failure, or you can see it as recalibration. The body often slows down before a major shift. Perception determines whether you resist or allow. Allowing accelerates. Resisting delays. This is why two people can live through the same year and come out completely different. One says, "That year broke me." The other says, "That year changed me." Same events. Different lenses. As I see it, so it becomes. This is not about pretending. It's about accuracy. Source never sees your life as behind. Never sees your business as lacking. Never sees your process as wrong. Source sees expansion only. When you align with that perception, you stop fighting reality. You start cooperating with it. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" You start asking, "What version of me is this showing?" And then the shift happens naturally. You don't need to fix the world. You need to adjust the lens. Because once perception shifts, effort becomes irrelevant. You've now seen the switch. Reality doesn't respond to force. It responds to how you see. And once you master perception, the next realization emerges. If perception selects reality, then identity must be the foundation beneath perception. You've changed how you see. Now it's time to change who you're being. You've adjusted the lens. Now let's step into the source of the image. Chapter 4. Identity creates reality automatically. You do not manifest what you want. You manifest who you are. This is where everything becomes simple and uncompromising. Desire does not create reality. Identity does. Wanting comes from separation. Being comes from alignment. The version of you that wants something is not the same version of you that lives it. And reality always follows the version that is active. Identity is not a label. It is a state of being. It is how you move, how you decide, what you expect without questioning. Your habits come from identity. Your standards come from identity. Your tolerance comes from identity. You don't wake up every day choosing your behaviors consciously. You wake up and be someone, and that someone behaves predictably. This is why effort-based change fails. You can try to force new habits from an old identity. You can try to think positive from a self that expects disappointment. You can try to act confident from an identity that assumes rejection. And reality ignores it. Because identity speaks louder than intention. Whenever we focus on something, we activate it. And identity is the deepest focus there is. This is why people can read books, listen to content, repeat affirmations, and nothing changes. They are still moving as the same self. The same expectations. The same reactions. The same internal posture. Identity governs what feels normal. If struggle feels normal, ease feels suspicious. If chaos feels familiar, peace feels boring. If lack feels safe, abundance feels destabilizing. Reality is loyal to what you recognize as me. This is why sudden transformations happen without gradual steps. Someone doesn't slowly become confident. They decide they are no longer available for self-doubt. Someone doesn't ease into abundance. They stop identifying as someone who waits. The moment identity shifts, behavior follows automatically. Not forced, not managed, not disciplined through willpower. Automatically. I move as the version of me who already has it. That sentence is not motivational. It is instructional. How would that version walk into a room? How would that version speak? What would that version no longer explain? Identity answers before the mind can interfere. This is why embodiment is everything. You don't visualize for hours. You occupy. You don't convince yourself. You decide. You don't ask, how do I get there? You ask, who am I being right now? This applies to money in a very real way. Someone who identifies as trying to make it will always find reasons to hesitate. Someone who identifies as established makes clean decisions. Same skills, same intelligence, different outcomes. In one client session, money wasn't blocked by strategy. It was blocked by identity. The client saw herself as someone who needed permission to charge. So reality reflected hesitation back to her. When she shifted into the identity of someone who values her work without apology, behavior changed instantly. Her voice changed. Her posture changed. Her decisions changed. And the external world followed. Because whatever you believe about you, you are giving permission for other people to also believe about you. Identity trains the room. This is also why relationships reorganize when you change. When you stop identifying as the one who overgives, people stop taking. When you stop identifying as the one who waits, people meet you faster. When you stop identifying as the one who proves, you are believed. You are a multidimensional being with infinite selves. Each self carries a different identity. Each identity lives in a different world. As you expand your perceptual awareness, more timelines instantaneously become available to you because you are no longer stuck in linear reality. Identity is the access point. You don't climb timelines. You switch selves. This is also why people feel off when they are shifting identities. Old behaviors feel wrong. Old reactions feel outdated. Old patterns feel heavy. That discomfort is not failure. It is mismatch. You are no longer aligned with who you used to be. This is where discipline matters. Not discipline to push through resistance. Discipline to stop returning to an expired identity. It's about discipline. The discipline to notice when you're speaking as the old version. The discipline to pause before reacting from muscle memory. The discipline to let silence replace explanation. Identity collapses time. The moment you move as the version of you who already has it, reality adjusts to maintain coherence. I move as the version of me who already has it. That is not pretending. That is alignment. And once identity is set, emotion becomes the next mechanism. You've chosen who you are. Now let's talk about how you steer. You've activated the self. Now let's activate the signal. Chapter 5. Emotional state is the steering wheel. Emotion is not a reaction. Emotion is a signal. It is the broadcast that selects your parallel timeline. Thought initiates. Identity stabilizes. Emotion moves. This is why you can think right and still feel stuck. Because emotion is what reality reads. Emotion tells reality where you are. Not what you want. Not what you hope. Where you are. This is why joy, ease, and certainty move reality faster than struggle. Struggle is noisy. Joy is clear. Struggle says, I'm not there yet. Joy says, I'm already aligned. The frequency of joy in itself will help you quantum shift at an accelerated rate. Not forced happiness. Not spiritual bypassing. Joy as permission. Ease as trust. Certainty as coherence. I follow the feeling, and the reality follows me. This is not emotional indulgence. It is navigation. Emotion is the steering wheel. You can be moving fast in the wrong direction, or gently in the right one. Reality responds to direction, not effort. This is why people burn out while doing everything right. They are pushing from fear, managing from tension, creating from urgency. Urgency collapses possibility. Calm expands it. This is also why letting go works. When you stop caring, that is the highest form of manifestation. Because caring often means gripping, monitoring, micromanaging outcomes. Detachment removes distortion. When emotion neutralizes, timelines slide. I've experienced this directly. There were moments where the decision wasn't positive thinking. It was surrender. I just don't care. Not resignation. Freedom. And that emotional release allowed something massive to arrive. Because resistance had nowhere to anchor. Emotion also explains why different people experience different realities on the same day. One person wakes up anxious. Another wakes up open. Same city. Different earths. The anxious state selects delay, friction, resistance. The open state selects flow, timing, support. This is why people feel like prisoners. They are not trapped by circumstances. They are trapped by emotional momentum. This is why people are living and feeling like they are prisoners within their own game. Because they're feeling trapped in a certain narrative, trapped in a certain identity, when it's really just a choice. A choice of feeling. Emotion activates memory. Emotion activates anticipation. The ego loves worst-case scenarios because they feel familiar. But familiarity is not truth. Whenever we focus on something, we activate it. And emotion intensifies focus. This is why neutrality is powerful. Neutrality stops feeding the loop. This is also why exhaustion can show up during big emotional shifts. Sometimes the body slows so the signal can recalibrate. Sometimes stillness is integration. This is not collapse. It is alignment. It's about discipline. The discipline to choose how you feel before choosing what you do. The discipline to follow resonance instead of pressure. The discipline to trust ease when it appears. I follow the feeling, and the reality follows me. Emotion tells you which self is active. If you feel heavy, you're tuned to an older timeline. If you feel light, you're aligned with a newer one. This doesn't mean avoiding emotions. It means listening to them as data. Emotion is guidance. And once you master emotion, action becomes obvious. You stop forcing. You start responding. You've chosen the identity. You've set the emotional signal. Now it's time to talk about what happens next. How emotion turns into movement without strain. You've learned to steer. Now let's learn when to move. Chapter 6: Detachment Collapses Time. Attachment is not desire. Attachment is resistance wearing hope as a disguise. Attachment says, "This must happen for me to be okay." And the moment that belief is active, time slows. Not as punishment, as physics. Attachment tightens focus. It narrows perception. It locks identity into waiting. And waiting is a timeline. Detachment does the opposite. Detachment is not indifference. It is trust without tension. It is knowing without gripping. Choosing without monitoring. Attachment asks reality to prove itself. Detachment allows reality to move freely. This is why neutrality accelerates manifestation. When emotional charge drops, friction disappears. When resistance dissolves, timelines slide together. I release the outcome, and the outcome rushes to me. That phrase is not spiritual language. It is mechanical truth. Reality does not like being chased. It responds to availability. Think about how often things arrive the moment you stop checking. A message comes after you forget your phone. An opportunity appears after you decide you're fine either way. A solution lands once you stop replaying the problem. That is not coincidence. That is coherence returning. Whenever we focus on something, we activate it. An attachment is obsessive focus disguised as care. Most people believe caring more makes things happen faster. In reality, caring too much creates interference. This is why people say, "It came when I least expected it." What they really mean is, It came when I stopped resisting. I've watched this happen repeatedly. Someone searches endlessly for a relationship. They analyze every interaction. They assign meaning to every delay. Nothing moves. Then they reach a moment of internal closure. Not bitterness. Completion. They genuinely say, I'm good. And suddenly, connection appears. Same desire. Different state. Detachment collapse time. Money behaves the same way. When someone is constantly checking accounts, watching numbers, bracing for lack, money stays tense. It hesitates. When someone relaxes into sufficiency, even before evidence, circulation increases. Not because they stopped caring about money, because they stopped fighting it. This is why a partner saying, "We don't have the money," creates contraction. That belief activates lack as a dominant signal. But here's the key: you are not required to adopt someone else's attachment. You can choose your own state. You can hear fear without joining it. You can notice scarcity without identifying with it. Detachment restores sovereignty. I release the outcome, and the outcome rushes to me. This is also why manifestation spikes after emotional exhaustion. There are moments when the mind simply gives up control. It stops strategizing, stops anticipating. That surrender is not failure. It is opening. I've experienced periods where I felt completely drained, not depressed, empty. And in that emptiness, resistance had nowhere to live. That's when shifts happened quietly, naturally, without effort. The body was integrating. The identity was updating. Sometimes detachment looks like rest. Sometimes it looks like laughter. Sometimes it looks like, I don't care anymore. And that I don't care is not apathy. It is freedom. When you stop caring, that is the highest form of manifestation. Because you are no longer negotiating with reality. You are allowing it. This is especially important when the ego fixates on worst-case scenarios. The ego believes attachment equals protection. But attachment actually keeps worst-case timelines active. When you detach, you stop feeding fear. And fear dissolves without attention. This is discipline. Not discipline of control. Discipline of release. It's about discipline. The discipline to stop checking for proof. The discipline to let silence replace analysis. The discipline to trust alignment more than outcomes. Detachment does not mean you stop choosing. You still decide who you are. You still hold identity. But you don't micromanage how reality delivers. You are a multidimensional being with infinite selves. Each self already has its outcomes resolved. Attachment keeps you glued to one narrow version. Detachment lets you slide to another. As you expand your perceptual awareness, more timelines instantaneously become available to you because you are no longer stuck in linear reality. Linear reality is attachment to sequence. Quantum reality is openness to convergence. I release the outcome, and the outcome rushes to me. Say it until it feels calm. Not convincing. Calm. Because calm is coherence. And once attachment dissolves, something else becomes possible. Assumption. Not hoping. Not wishing. Quiet knowing. You've released the grip. Now let's talk about what fills the space. You've let go of control. Now let's talk about certainty. Chapter 7. The Power of Assumption. Assumption is quieter than effort, and far more powerful. Effort announces itself. Assumption operates beneath the surface. You don't argue with what you assume. You don't motivate yourself into it. You don't need evidence for it. You simply move as if it's already resolved. That is why assumption overrides effort. Effort tries to convince reality. Assumption informs it. Most people exhaust themselves trying to think positively. They repeat words. They force belief. But forced belief is still doubt in disguise. Assumption does not require repetition for persuasion. It requires coherence. It is done because I assume it is. That sentence does not feel exciting. It feels calm. And calm is the signal. Assumptions are the default settings of the mind. They determine what you expect without thinking. You assume the sun will rise. You assume gravity will hold you. You assume certain people will behave certain ways. You don't affirm these things. You live from them. Reality responds to assumptions the same way. If you assume life supports you, you notice support. If you assume things go wrong, you find confirmation. Whenever we focus on something, we activate it. Assumption is sustained focus without effort. This is why people say things like, "I just knew it would work." They weren't hopeful. They weren't anxious. They were settled. That inner settlement is assumption. It is also why affirmation often fails. Affirmation is usually spoken from a self that does not expect results. It is said loudly because belief is weak. Assumption does not need volume. It moves silently. You have to remember how to think as a quantum being. A quantum being does not ask, "Will this happen?" A quantum being asks, "How do I move now that it has?" Assumption collapses decision-making. You stop weighing options. You stop scanning for danger. You stop rehearsing explanations. Because the outcome is no longer in question. This is why assumption collapses time. The moment you assume something is done, you stop creating delay around it. The moment I decide, time reorganizes. Decision and assumption are intertwined. Decision sets direction. Assumption stabilizes it. This is also why neutrality amplifies assumption. When you stop caring, that is the highest form of manifestation. Because assumption works best without emotional interference. Strong emotion often signals attachment. Assumption thrives in emotional quiet. Think about how often things appear once you stop talking about them. You stop explaining, stop defending, stop strategizing, and suddenly movement. That is assumption activating. This also explains why people can feel something is off before it shows up physically. They assume something has changed. Their behavior adjusts. Reality follows. This applies to money in a very real way. When someone assumes clients can afford their work, conversations are clean. Pricing feels neutral. Boundaries are clear. When someone assumes people will struggle, energy tightens. Justifications appear. Hesitation enters. Same offer. Different assumptions. Different outcomes. It is done because I assume it is. This also applies to opportunities. A user once said, "I already have the job offer." Not repeatedly. Not desperately. Once. That assumption reorganized the timeline. The next day, the offer arrived. Not because words are magic. Because assumption selects reality. Assumption also affects how others show up. Whatever you believe about you, you are giving permission for other people to also believe about you. If you assume respect, people sense it. If you assume rejection, people feel distance. You are not controlling others. You are setting a baseline. This is also why worst-case thinking is so destructive. The ego assumes threat as default. It believes anticipation equals safety. But those assumptions activate timelines you never wanted. When you step back and disengage, those timelines dissolve. Assumption is always running. The question is whether it's conscious. You are a multidimensional being with infinite selves. Each self operates on a different set of assumptions. As you expand your perceptual awareness, more timelines instantaneously become available to you because you are no longer stuck in linear reality. Assumption selects which self is active. This is discipline, not forcing belief, not suppressing doubt. It's about discipline. The discipline to notice what you're already assuming. The discipline to withdraw energy from assumptions that don't serve you. The discipline to let quiet, knowing replace mental effort. Assumption is not something you add. It is something you allow. You stop arguing with reality. You stop asking for reassurance. You move forward calmly. It is done because I assume it is. And once assumption is in place, something else becomes unavoidable. Movement, not forced action. Aligned action. You've settled the outcome internally. Now reality invites you to respond. You've stopped questioning. Now let's talk about how certainty turns into motion. Chapter 8. Reality responds to certainty, not hope. Hope feels kind, but hope is still distance. Hope says, maybe someday. Certainty says, this is already in motion. Reality responds to certainty, not hope. Hope keeps the outcome outside of you. Certainty places it inside your field. Hope waits. Certainty moves. This is why hoping harder never changes anything. It keeps you oriented toward absence. Certainty does the opposite. It assumes presence. I move first. Reality confirms second. That phrase describes how creation actually works. People often think they need proof before action. But proof only appears after alignment. Waiting for evidence is a strategy rooted in fear. Moving from certainty is a strategy rooted in identity. This is why people who seem lucky are simply decisive. They don't rush. They don't panic. They don't hesitate. They act as if the path will hold them, because it always has. Certainty is not arrogance. It is coherence. It is the internal state where thought, emotion, and identity are no longer arguing. This is why certainty collapses complexity. You stop overthinking. You stop asking everyone's opinion. You stop rehearsing backup plans. Not because you're reckless, because you're aligned. I move first. Reality confirms second. This pattern shows up everywhere. In careers, people who receive opportunities are often the ones who spoke before they felt ready. They applied before their confidence caught up. They said yes before logistics were clear. Not impulsively. Internally settled. Their certainty preceded their credentials. In relationships, certainty changes dynamics instantly. Someone who is sure of their value does not chase. They respond. They don't hope to be chosen. They assume mutual interest or move on cleanly. That certainty invites clarity from others. Whatever you believe about you, you are giving permission for other people to also believe about you. Certainty sets the tone. This also explains why people stay stuck while doing everything right. They are acting from hope. Hoping effort will turn into proof. Hoping patience will be rewarded. Hope is passive alignment. Certainty is active alignment. This is why certainty feels calm. There is no internal debate. No emotional negotiation. The nervous system relaxes because direction is set. This is also why joy accelerates certainty. The frequency of joy in itself will help you quantum shift at an accelerated rate. Joy indicates trust. Trust stabilizes certainty. Struggle destabilizes it. When you are trying to make something happen, certainty is absent. When you know something is happening, effort softens. This is why detachment and certainty work together. When you stop caring, that is the highest form of manifestation. Because certainty does not need emotional intensity. It needs clarity. I've seen people act from certainty without any visible proof. A user once said they walked like they were already their rich, stress-free self. Not pretending. Embodying. Their posture changed. Their pace changed. Their decisions changed. Reality followed. This is how embodiment works. You don't wait for confidence to act. You act as if confidence is already the baseline. This is not fake it till you make it. It is remember it till you live it. You are a multidimensional being with infinite selves. Each self operates with a different level of certainty. As you expand your perceptual awareness, more timelines instantaneously become available to you because you are no longer stuck in linear reality. Certainty selects the timeline where the outcome already exists. Hope keeps you orbiting it. This is also why the ego prefers hope. Hope feels safe. It avoids commitment. Certainty requires decision, and decision removes excuses. This is discipline, not discipline of effort, discipline of commitment. It's about discipline, the discipline to stop asking, what if it doesn't work? The discipline to stop rehearsing disappointment, The discipline to act as if the ground will meet your foot. I move first. Reality confirms second. That is the order. You don't need to know how confirmation will arrive. You need to be willing to move without it. This does not mean reckless action. It means internally resolved action. When certainty is present, action feels obvious. No pushing, no forcing, just response. And once you understand certainty, the next realization becomes clear. Certainty is not mental. It is emotional. It lives in how you feel while moving. You've learned to commit. Now let's talk about the emotion that makes commitment effortless. You've stepped out of hope. Now let's anchor into joy. Chapter 9. The importance of joy as a strategy. Joy is not a reward. Joy is a tool. Most people misunderstand joy. They treat it as something that comes after success, after money, after resolution. But joy does not follow alignment. Joy creates it. Joy is not emotional decoration. It is functional. Joy signals safety to the nervous system. And when the nervous system feels safe, reality reorganizes faster. Joy is my shortcut. This is why playful energy collapses timelines. Playfulness removes pressure. Pressure distorts perception. Distorted perception slows movement. Joy clears the signal. When you are playful, you are not monitoring outcomes. You are not calculating risk. You are not rehearsing failure. You are present. And presence is where all timelines intersect. This is why children learn quickly. Why ideas arrive in moments of lightness. Why breakthroughs happen when you stop trying. Joy loosens identity. When you are joyful, you temporarily step out of rigid roles. You are not the one who struggles, not the one who waits, not the one who proves. You are just being, and being is where quantum movement happens. The frequency of joy in itself will help you quantum shift at an accelerated rate. This is not emotional fluff. This is mechanics. Joy widens perceptual awareness. As you expand your perceptual awareness, more timelines instantaneously become available to you because you are no longer stuck in linear reality. Seriousness locks you into one narrow path. Joy opens options. This is why forcing positivity never works. Forced positivity is still effort, still control, still tension. Joy is effortless alignment. It does not argue with reality. It flows with it. Joy is my shortcut. This is also why people feel lighter right before big shifts. They stop obsessing. They laugh. They relax. And suddenly movement. It's not because they stopped wanting. It's because they stopped resisting. This is why people often say, I wasn't even trying. They weren't trying to control. They were allowing. Joy and detachment are partners. When you stop caring, that is the highest form of manifestation. Joy often appears right after that release. Not excitement. Ease. This also explains why having fun can change money dynamics. When work feels heavy, money tightens. When work feels playful, ideas flow. Source never sees your business as struggling. Source sees expansion only. Playfulness aligns you with that perspective. The belief that seriousness equals responsibility is outdated. Seriousness contracts creativity. Joy expands it. Joy is not reckless. It is intelligent. It listens. It responds. It moves with timing. This is why playful people often seem lucky. They are not calculating every move. They are responsive. They feel their way forward. I follow the feeling, and the reality follows me. Joy sharpens intuition. When joy is present, the next step feels obvious. Not urgent. Clear. This is also why joy dissolves fear. Fear requires future projection. Joy lives now. When you are fully present, fear has no reference point. This is discipline. Not discipline of suppression. Discipline of permission. It's about discipline. The discipline to choose lightness even when the mind wants to problem solve. The discipline to pause before reacting. The discipline to ask, what would feel fun right now? Fun is not avoidance. It is alignment. You are a multidimensional being with infinite selves. Some of those selves live in effort. Others live in ease. Joy selects the self who lives in ease. Joy is my shortcut. You don't need to understand every step. You need to stay open. Joy keeps the channel open. And once joy becomes your strategy, something else naturally falls away. Old stories, old identities, old timelines. You stop carrying what no longer matches your frequency. You've learned to move with joy. Now it's time to let go of what can't come with you. You've accelerated the path. Now let's release the past. Chapter 10. Releasing the old timeline. You cannot step into a new reality while clutching the old one. Old stories are anchors. They weigh down perception. They keep timelines locked. Every memory, every regret, every should have is a signal that says stay here. And as long as you signal that, the universe aligns with it. No effort will override the attachment. No visualization will pull you forward while your mind is still rehearsing the past. That version is complete. I move on. Reality requires clarity. It does not negotiate with indecision. It cannot distinguish longing from alignment. It only mirrors where your focus resides. Look at your current identity. What narratives are you repeating daily? What version of yourself are you still playing? Are you the person who struggles? Who is small? Who waits for approval? Notice it. Name it. Then release it. Release does not mean judgment. It does not mean failure. It does not mean shame. It is simply acknowledgement that a timeline has served its purpose. Imagine carrying a suitcase full of old clothes you never wear. Every step is heavier. Every move is slower. And yet, you cling to it because of familiarity. The new wardrobe waits at the door, ready to fit perfectly, but you must let go first. That version is complete. I move on. This applies to relationships, to careers, to financial patterns, to habits, to beliefs about your body, your worth, your potential. The moment you release resistance, timelines shift. The moment you stop trying to fix the past, the present opens. The moment you accept that some identities no longer serve you, quantum doors appear. You do not need to plan. You do not need to understand. You do not need to negotiate with old patterns. Observe the story. See where it ends. Then step out. Old versions of you often cling to pain, scarcity, or limitation. They insist, I am trapped. I cannot. It is too late. You do not argue with them. You do not debate. You simply leave. That version is complete. I move on. This is why detachment is so powerful. When you stop resisting, the timeline flows naturally. When you stop holding, the universe responds. When you stop fearing, the frequency shifts. Sometimes the release is subtle. A sigh, a thought, I am done with this. Sometimes it is dramatic. A decision, a step away, a boundary. Either way, energy moves. The past no longer pulls. The present becomes vivid. The future becomes visible. Notice how identity contracts with old stories. Notice how narrative defines your daily experience. Notice how tightly you cling to what you believe you cannot leave. And then consciously loosen the grip. Unpack each memory that still binds you. Offer gratitude for its lessons. Let it dissolve. That version is complete. I move on. Some timelines resist your awareness. They linger in subtle ways. Thoughts, impulses, triggers. Do not fight them. Observe them. Breathe. Acknowledge and release. When you shed the old timeline, you make space. Space for joy. Space for abundance. Space for identity to expand. Space for the self that already has what you desire. Space for alignment to accelerate. Space for reality to mirror your chosen frequency. This is why people report sudden breakthroughs, sudden clarity, sudden abundance. They did not manifest it overnight. They released resistance, dropped the old narrative, and stepped forward. That version is complete. I move on. This is a discipline of awareness, a discipline of presence, a discipline of courage. You are practicing letting go. You are practicing trusting the unseen. You are practicing being fluid. And once fluid, you are unstoppable. You have now cleared the space. You have released what no longer serves. You have acknowledged the stories that held you hostage. Now you are ready to act with ease. Not because you are forcing outcomes, but because you are aligned with inevitable flow. That is the bridge to inspired action. The next step is to learn to move without strain. You've released the old. Now let's step into effortless movement. Chapter 11: Inspired Action versus Forced Action. Action is not the same as effort. Most people equate movement with struggle. They push, they strain, they grind. And yet, progress feels heavy. Results feel distant. Energy drains faster than outcomes arrive. Inspired action is different. It is light. It is obvious. It flows naturally from clarity. It aligns with what already exists, not what you hope to force into being. You act when it feels inevitable. Notice how the body signals alignment. A yes in your chest. A sense of certainty in your mind. A resonance in your energy. This is the universe nudging you forward. This is the sign of a timeline ready to receive you. Contrast this with forced action. The ego insists, I must do more. I must fix this now. I cannot wait. Force is born from fear. Force is born from doubt. Force carries resistance. When you push, reality resists. When you pull, reality stretches. When you act in alignment, momentum is effortless. The work does not feel heavy. The path does not feel obstructed. The results are inevitable because you are in resonance. Observe your habits. Where do you act out of compulsion rather than clarity? Where do you overplan, overmanage, overcontrol? These are signs of misalignment. Energy is going to the wrong place. Focus is fractured. Now, notice when you feel an internal confirmation. The idea feels correct. The timing feels right. You feel capable, not pressured. This is inspired action. This is the language of alignment. Every step of inspired action reinforces your identity. It confirms the version of yourself who already has what you desire. It strengthens the belief that effortless flow is possible. It collapses resistance from the old timeline. Action does not need to be large. Micro-movements can ripple outward. A single conversation, a simple decision, a small choice executed with clarity can trigger massive shifts. The universe responds to alignment, not intensity. You act when it feels inevitable, not when fear dictates, not when doubt whispers, not when pressure builds, but when the inner knowing says yes. Examples are everywhere. Someone waiting to create their business finally takes a single, inspired step. A single email, a single call, a single post. Suddenly, opportunities appear. Clients respond. Flow emerges. All because the first action was aligned. Compare that to trying to force 1,000 steps without internal readiness. Exhaustion follows. Frustration follows. Delayed results follow. Inspired action multiplies the effect of your energy. Forced action disperses it. Momentum grows when movement is aligned. Momentum stalls when movement is reactive. Sometimes inspired action is subtle. It feels like a gentle pull, a quiet nudge. Sometimes it is bold. It feels like clarity that cannot be ignored. Either way, timing is part of the equation. You also act when inspired action is repeated consistently. Alignment compounds. The more you step with certainty, the easier clarity arrives next time. The universe recognizes a consistent frequency. Flow becomes habitual. Effort diminishes. Remember, momentum is not about pushing. Momentum is about resonance. A melody and energy that attracts matching vibrations. You do not chase. You receive. You follow. You act. Every choice is a signal. Every decision is a frequency. Every action is a bridge from identity to experience. When you act from inspiration rather than obligation, you are communicating to the universe. I am ready. I am aligned. I am already here. I act when it feels inevitable. This principle applies to every area of life: business, money, relationships, health, creativity, any area where you want results without struggle. It is not about doing more. It is about doing what matches your current alignment. The rest unfolds naturally. Notice the difference between forced effort and inspired clarity in your day-to-day life. Notice how much faster aligned action produces results. Notice how effortless it feels compared to grinding. This is why repetition of alignment is essential. The more you act in inspired ways, the more your identity shifts. The more your identity shifts, the more your reality adjusts. This is the law of resonance. This is how quantum beings operate. Microsteps matter. Small decisions, executed with certainty, generate macro outcomes. You do not need to strain. You need to align. Momentum becomes inevitable when action is inspired. Resistance dissolves. Time collapses. Reality mirrors your certainty. I act when it feels inevitable. Now, having mastered alignment through inspired action, it is time to see how to compound these shifts with practical tools. The next chapter will guide you in applying simple methods that accelerate reality shifts. Chapter 12: Practical Tools for Reality Shifting. Alignment becomes permanent when it is practiced. This is where understanding turns into embodiment. Reality shifting is not mysterious. It is mechanical, and mechanics can be trained. The tools are simple. Their power comes from consistency, not intensity. Small shifts, massive jumps. The first tool is mental rehearsal. Mental rehearsal is not visualization for motivation. It is simulation for alignment. You do not imagine to get excited. You imagine to normalize. When you mentally rehearse an experience calmly, the nervous system accepts it as familiar. And whatever feels familiar becomes accessible. You see yourself responding as the version of you who already lives that reality. Not achieving, operating. How you speak, how you move, how you decide. This is how identity updates. The mind stops asking, "Is this possible?" because it has already been experienced internally. Mental rehearsal collapses novelty. The second tool is assumption stacking. Assumption stacking means building quiet, supportive beliefs that do not require proof. Not big statements. Not dramatic declarations. Simple, stable assumptions. Things like, things work out for me. I am supported. Opportunities find me. You don't repeat them forcefully. You live from them. Each assumption stacks on the last, creating a baseline of certainty. This is how quietly knowing replaces affirmations. It is done because I assume it is. Assumption stacking removes friction from decision-making. You stop debating every step. You stop checking for reassurance. Reality responds to what you assume is normal. The third tool is emotional priming. Emotion is the signal, so you choose the signal deliberately. Emotional priming is setting your emotional tone before engaging with the world, not by forcing positivity, by choosing neutrality, ease, or curiosity. You ask simple questions. How do I want today to feel? What frequency am I moving from? Then you align your posture, breath, and pace to match that feeling. This is subtle and extremely effective. Small shifts, massive jumps. These tools are not used once. They are layered. Mental rehearsal aligns identity. Assumption stacking stabilizes perception. Emotional priming sets direction. Together, they compound. This is where daily microshifts matter. You do not overhaul your life in a day. You shift how you respond to moments. A pause instead of a reaction. A neutral thought instead of a critical one. A breath before speaking. Each microshift changes your trajectory, and trajectory determines destination. This is why discipline is essential. Not discipline of force, discipline of awareness. It's about discipline. The discipline to notice your inner dialogue. The discipline to interrupt automatic reactions. The discipline to choose alignment over habit. These micro-decisions accumulate. One aligned response doesn't change everything, but 100 do. This is how timelines shift quickly without drama. People often underestimate small changes because they are quiet, but reality is listening. Whenever we focus on something, we activate it. A small focus, repeated, becomes dominant. This is why someone can feel like they woke up on a different earth. They didn't move cities. They moved attention. Same environment. Different experience. Small shifts, massive jumps. This also explains why consistency beats intensity. One dramatic effort followed by old habits resets the timeline. Gentle, repeated alignment stabilizes the new one. These tools are meant to be lived, not scheduled. Mental rehearsal can happen in seconds. Assumptions run in the background. Emotional priming takes a breath. You do not need more time. You need more presence. As you practice these tools, something else becomes noticeable. Support. You begin to feel guided. Backed. Met halfway. Because reality is not isolated. It is shared, which leads to the next realization. Your shifts do not happen alone. You've learned how to move internally. Now let's look at how the collective responds. Chapter 13, Collective Consciousness is Always Listening. You are not creating alone. You never were. Every thought, every feeling, every assumption you hold is received by something larger than you. Not judged, not filtered, received. The collective consciousness is always listening. This does not mean you are being watched. It means you are being answered. Your personal shift does not happen in isolation. The moment you change your inner state, the field around you adjusts. People often think they have to carry everything themselves, that they must figure it out alone. That support is rare. That belief is not personal. It is collective conditioning. In truth, reality is cooperative. When you align with a new version of yourself, you step into a network of matching signals. Ideas meet you. People appear. Timing aligns. This is why synchronicities increase after internal shifts. You think of someone and they call. You speak an idea and hear it echoed elsewhere. You ask a question internally and see the answer show up in unexpected places. These are not coincidences. They are confirmations. The collective responds to coherence. I am supported beyond what I see. This support is subtle. It does not always arrive as help you recognize immediately. Sometimes it shows up as redirection, a delay, a closed door. But each response is information. When you shift your frequency, you activate parallel versions of others who are aligned with that frequency. This is why relationships change when you change. Some people drift away without conflict. Others step closer without effort. You did not lose anyone. You changed timelines. You also activate different aspects within the same person. In relationships, romantic or platonic, you bring out certain traits in others based on your own state. Your presence signals what is allowed. When you move with clarity, others respond clearly. When you move with ease, interactions soften. The collective adjusts continuously. This also explains shared momentum. Have you noticed how things begin to stack once movement starts? One opportunity leads to another. One insight unlocks several more. This is not luck building. It is alignment being reinforced by the field. Your shift gives permission for other shifts to occur around you. Whatever you believe about you, you are giving permission for other people to also believe about you. The collective mirrors that permission. This is especially visible in creative work and business. When you see your work as valuable, others recognize its value. When you see your path as valid, support appears. Source never sees your business or your role as not enough. That judgment comes from individual perspective, not the collective field. The collective holds expansion as default. This is also why isolation dissolves when alignment increases. You may still be physically alone at times, but you no longer feel unsupported. There is a quiet sense of backing, a feeling that things are unfolding with you, not against you. I am supported beyond what I see. Support also comes through contrast. Sometimes you hear exactly what you needed not to believe. Sometimes someone reflects an old pattern so you can release it. This is not punishment. It is information. The collective does not force growth. It responds. When you stop resisting your own evolution, resistance in the world decreases. This is why people report that life feels easier after an internal shift. Same responsibilities, different flow. The field is no longer pushing against you. You are not broadcasting alone. You are participating, and participation means response. You are part of a living system that adjusts in real time. Once you understand this, trust deepens naturally. You stop needing to see every step. You stop needing constant reassurance. You feel held. I am supported beyond what I see. And when support is felt, something powerful becomes possible. Surrender. Not giving up. Letting in. You've recognized the field around you. Now let's talk about how to consciously collaborate with it. You've felt the support. Now let's invite it fully. Chapter 14. Inviting Source/God into creation. Creation is not a solo endeavor. It is a conversation between you and something infinitely larger. This intelligence has no agenda other than coherence and flow. When you attempt to control every detail, you block that conversation. Inviting Source is not about asking for permission. It is about creating space. Space for insight, inspiration, and action to move through you naturally. When you collaborate with the unseen, outcomes no longer rely on force. They rely on resonance. The energy of creation moves toward alignment, not effort. Your role is not to micromanage. It is to notice, respond, and participate. To feel the guidance and act when it feels inevitable. This is the difference between control and co-creation. Control demands tension, precision, and proof. Co-creation flows effortlessly, guided by intuition, synchronicity, and timing that you could not plan. You start by letting go of the idea that you must know the path. Instead, trust that the path knows you. Trust that the intelligence of the universe is already aware of what is possible. Notice subtle nudges, a thought, a feeling, a coincidence, and follow them. These are the fingerprints of a higher order guiding your movement. Creation accelerates when you allow. It multiplies when you trust. It expands when you receive without questioning the timing or form. I allow. I trust. I receive. This is not passive. It is active participation in a living, conscious process. You are not a vessel of wishful thinking. You are a channel of unfolding reality. Each time you release attachment to the how and when, you step into alignment with infinite intelligence. The work becomes lighter, ideas sharper, connections clearer. Even resistance has a role. It signals where control still lingers, where doubt or fear has a grip, where source cannot move freely. Observe the tension. Thank it. Then release it. Allowing does not mean inaction. It means acting from guidance rather than from push. It means responding to opportunities instead of forcing them. It means being ready to pivot when new information arrives. Creation is responsive, not reactive. It rewards those who align with its intelligence rather than those who fight it. I allow. I trust. I receive. Your thoughts, feelings, and energy are instruments. Source plays through you. You provide the tone, the rhythm, the openness. When you collaborate this way, results often arrive in forms you could not anticipate. They may surpass your original imagination. They may come in unexpected shapes, with unexpected people. Yet they are perfectly suited to your evolution. Every act of surrender strengthens the flow. Every acknowledgement of guidance deepens your connection. Every moment of trust creates a ripple that touches others. The world is not created by solitary effort, but by responsive co-creation. The intelligence of the universe does not compete with you. It complements you, expands you, and amplifies your ability to manifest. I allow. I trust. I receive. This is the rhythm of alignment. This is the essence of effortless creation. This is the invitation to step aside and let the infinite move through you, shaping reality with elegance, precision, and joy. From here, the next step is integration, living this collaboration in every moment, in every choice, in every interaction. Chapter 15, Living as the Chosen Timeline. You are no longer visiting a possibility. You are inhabiting it. There is a difference between stepping into a new reality and living there. Visiting still carries doubt. Living is settled. You do not check if it's working. You do not look back for confirmation. You do not wait for permission. You move forward because this is where you are now. This is who I am now. Living as the chosen timeline means your inner posture has changed. Your decisions no longer feel dramatic. Your standards feel natural. Your boundaries feel quiet. You are not trying to maintain alignment. Alignment is your default. This is how obsession falls away. Obsession comes from uncertainty, from constantly asking, am I doing it right? From monitoring outcomes. When identity is stable, obsession disappears. You stop scanning reality for proof. You stop checking for movement. You stop replaying techniques. Because you are no longer creating a shift. You are being the shift. This is who I am now. Maintenance does not require effort when identity is coherent. You don't work to breathe. You don't force your heartbeat. You don't manage gravity. In the same way, you don't manage alignment. You respond from it. Your choices are cleaner. Your reactions are slower. Your intuition is sharper. You notice when something doesn't match, and you step away without drama. This is maturity of consciousness. You are a multidimensional being with infinite selves. You have already chosen which one leads. As you expand your perceptual awareness, more timelines instantaneously become available to you because you are no longer stuck in linear reality. But you don't chase them anymore. You let them meet you. Living as the chosen timeline also means allowing contrast without panic. Challenges may still appear. Moments of uncertainty may pass through, but they do not define you. They are weather, not climate. You don't spiral. You don't collapse. You adjust, because identity is anchored. This is who I am now. You also stop explaining yourself. You don't need to convince others. You don't need to justify your path. You don't need to prove what you know. Your energy speaks. Whatever you believe about you, you are giving permission for other people to also believe about you. And now your belief is stable. Living as the chosen timeline is subtle. It shows up in how you walk, how you listen, how you pause before responding. It shows up in what you no longer tolerate, in what you no longer chase, in what you allow to arrive naturally. Joy remains present, not as excitement, but as ease. The frequency of joy in itself will help you quantum shift at an accelerated rate. Now, joy is not a strategy. It is a byproduct. You are not perfect. You are aligned, and alignment corrects itself. When something feels off, you notice quickly. When something feels right, you move without hesitation. I act when it feels inevitable. Living as the chosen timeline also means trust is embodied. You no longer ask if you're supported. You assume it. I am supported beyond what I see. You collaborate without thinking about collaboration. You receive without analyzing why. You allow life to move with you. I allow. I trust. I receive. This is who I am now. This is not the end of growth. It is the end of searching. You are not becoming. You are expressing. Every day, alignment deepens because it is lived, not practiced. You wake up where you are. You move from who you are. You decide from what you know. And reality continues to agree. Because it always has. This is who I am now. You have collapsed time. You have shifted timelines. You have remembered how to think as a quantum being. And now you live it. Not someday. Not eventually. Now. In closing, you now understand what most people never realize. Reality is not fixed. Time is not rigid. And you are not limited. You have learned that identity creates experience. That emotion selects timelines. That certainty collapses time. You are not waiting for change. You are being the change. Every moment from here forward is a choice. A choice of perception. A choice of feeling. A choice of identity. And the more consistently you choose, the faster reality responds. Do not overthink this. Do not complicate this. Live it. Walk as the version of you who already knows. Speak as the version of you who already has. Decide as the version of you who already is. Let this audiobook replay. Let repetition deepen certainty. Let certainty reshape your world. And here is your challenge. For the next 24 hours, act only from the identity you are choosing now. No doubt, no delay, no old stories. Because the moment you commit, your new reality has already begun. You are ready. You always were.